After, ladies and gentlemen, after listening to the distinguished speakers yesterday about the future of the EU, about rural development, and other concepts, I decided to change my speech. And it's going to be a drastic change, but I think it will be of interest to you. I'm going to talk about a project which is unfolding very successfully now. And through this project, I'm going to guide you through the principles that Ivan spoke and Mila is going to speak later on. You can Google the so-called Telos Project, T-I-L-O-S project. What's the Telos Project? It's a project of sustainable energy. Telos is a small rocky island in the Dodecanese in Greece. It's inhabited by few tens of people, about 60, 70 people, and the youth of this island is living towards urban centers and towards the rest of Europe. I'm the member of a board of a fund called UNIS, which has decided to do an innovative project, and we have worked very much to create the technology. It's a project which has to do with sustainable energy. We have put on the island wind power and solar energy. And at the same time, we have designed a software which connects the households with the power production. So every morning at around 8 o'clock, those who have chosen to be connected with the project, they get a message that they can use their washing machine at 11 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, or even the system will power it on at 2 o'clock in the morning. And this is free of charge. We have set a fund, we call it the UNIS Fund, and we managed to get a 15 million subsidy from the European Union. It's a very, very successful project from every point of view. It has managed to stop migration from the island. It has managed to bring young people back in the island to set up new dairy production, agricultural production, but also it has managed to give work to a number of refugees who are flooding the islands there. And if you Google, you'll see the success of this project. It is a practical project which shows how financing, design, politics, everything can work together. And now we are proposing the new project to distant communities, perhaps to Greenland, to small villages which have very little access to the rest of the world, and to small agricultural communities, which in this way they can get power free of charge. One of the problems that we are trying to solve now, because we are planning to export energy to surrounding islands, is the storing of the extra energy. And as you know now, there are breakthroughs in batteries. And last week, there was a meeting in the headquarters of the company with Tesla. They came and the management of this fund is trying to partner with them in order to store the energy and be able to export it in the surrounding areas. At the same time, and after finishing, I'll go to the financing part of my speech, we are developing an electronic currency, not a cryptocurrency, an electronic currency which will be related to energy. And its value will be based on the value of energy. And I was discussing with Ivan last night, Bulgaria sends energy to Greece. Greece sells energy to Turkey. Turkey sells energy to some of the Greek islands. We'll try to put a value We try to measure this, not in euro, not in dollars, but in a currency which be related to energy. The economists will say that initially, for the present currencies, we had the gold standard. And then they evolve. Now cryptocurrencies are bringing a revolution. So an electronic currency based on something tangible and measurable will be, I think, a breakthrough. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but we are working on this project. So those of you who want to find details on the project, Google Telos Project, T-I-L-O-S. When you start a project, as our friends from the exchanges will say, you need money. And money has to come from the banks or through equity, which are the exchanges. But the world is growing. And European Union has made it very expensive even to get capital from the exchanges. So there are alternative methods. There are alternative vehicles or instruments, as we say in finance. For example, there is a number of what you call mutual funds, UCITS or AIFs. I'm not going to burden you with the explaining what each one is, but the beauty of these instruments is that they are collective financial instruments which can be or cannot be listed on the exchanges. Let's say that four of us have an idea, we create a fund, and this fund is registered with the pertinent authorities in the country of its origin, is supervised by the authorities, by the Central Bank and the Security Commission. It has a constitution which determines firmly what it's going to do, and these funds are channeled through specialist advisors to what they have been purported to do. So those who put their money in these instruments know that not only they themselves are monitoring where the funds are going, but also the supervisory authorities of their countries. And this is the beauty of these instruments. There are a variation of these instruments. Another instrument, which you have used also in this case, is the issue of bonds. If you put your money in a German bank, you get close to zero interest. I don't know in an Irish bank how much you get, but I think all over Europe it's more or less the same. So, 1%. So what do? If we anticipate that a project will earn, let's say, 9%, let's say, we issue a bond for 5%. And this bond has as guarantee or collateral, perhaps real assets. And we can offer this bond with the backing of a real estate asset, with 5%. So this is a win-win situation. So there are the new situation where banks have problems, we as exchanges have our problems. The human brain has found other ways. And there are a lot of ways of financing projects, especially on sustainable development. And not to burden you more, it is, I don't want to go to the details of financing, but I have presented to you a project which I think 6 months ago we have been awarded the European Award of Sustainable Development. It was a pioneering project, a small-scale project. At the point in time we thought we weren't going to do it, especially when it came to the software issue, because we had to design a software for the first time, which has been patented, and at the same time we had to go to a village where the inhabitants didn't know what a smartphone is, didn't know what internet is, didn't know what a computer is. And then gradually, all the inhabitants of this island are partners. At the same time, there were grave concerns by the inhabitants what happens to the wildlife, the birds, and their animals on the island. We found a solution. So the island is friendly to the wildlife. But the amazing success of the project is that people are returning to their homeland, even if it is isolated. And it is a belief that through such projects, we can solve a number of issues, bringing people back to their villages, to the rural areas, finding jobs for the refugees which are flooding the area, and above all, minimizing the cost of energy and eliminating the cost of the environment. And I'm happy that financial instruments have been very helpful in making these small projects succeed, in getting an award from the European Union, in getting a grant from the European Union, and I told you, it will be interesting to spend some time in Google to see this project. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Whatever is behind of bitcoins, whatever it is, it comes from the emission problem of a dollar. Because when they started to bring this quantitative easy money program developed by Alan Greenspan, people started to think that our reserves, for example, not the U.S. but other countries' reserves, are getting down when they are printing a lot of money. And that's why the Bitcoin has been created, maybe by Americans also. The advantage of a currency, whatever it is black, it is white. Advantage is that emission is not depending from one person. That was the blockchain technology had been developed. In your electronic currency, how do you solve the problem of the emission in order to entrust other people to believe it?
This is the million-dollar question. We have not yet found an answer. There is a team of postgraduate students from a number of universities that are working on this issue. Sometimes I participate in the workshops, sometimes. I think we are very close to a solution. The solution will be if we find a way to actually store energy. The important thing is to store the energy. And there, the value of energy can get a respective coefficient. If we achieve to have something which is not so vague as the Bitcoin, it would be like the initials, the roots of the present monetary system, whereby 35, I think, dollars were associated to 1 ounce of gold. So the idea is to have a computer currency which will be linked to energy, but energy which can be stored. So in order not to have we don't want to make it speculative. We want to make it something as like an exchange, a commodity exchange, whereby you exchange grain to oil. Yeah. So we want to make something barter. And perhaps the term currency is misleading. And in this project, we take only students, people with open minds, and we try to work with them. I'm not a fan of cryptocurrencies. I know that there were people who made millions out of them, and there are people who lost a lot of them. But I strongly believe that cryptocurrencies have a lot of future. And this is based on many uncertainties worldwide, but that's another issue. What I tend to do is not a cryptocurrency. Perhaps it's a currency, electronic currency, electronic commodity. Perhaps that's new, perhaps we may not make it. But we are working on it. We are working on it. Any other question?
Is the company you set up to bring the energy initiative to the islands, is that a social enterprise or is it a commercial enterprise?
It is a commercial. It has been sent by an innovative entrepreneur who has asked me at a point in time to join him, and he has set a wind park a big wind park in an island called Evia in Greece. And then he wanted to offer something, because he's making a lot of money, he wanted to offer something back to his country. So he thought of this project. Initially, he was disappointed. Then we have pushed it forward. And I think that now that it's working in a small place, and we very recently bought from a German company. You know, the biggest problem in wind energy is the size of the windmills. It's enormous. The German company has developed a very small, much smaller windmill. We bought the technology very expensively, and it's being produced now in Greece. And I think that by the end of March, the first smaller windmill is not going to be, it's going to be sizable, but it's going to be much smaller. It's going to be produced, and we are working on reducing the size of the windmill and keeping as much as production capabilities in place. This will be a vital step forward because it solves a lot of problems. These bulky machines are something that is frightening. So, yes, Mila.
I think that this idea of using electricity as a currency is really great idea. I don't see any problem regarding new issuance as long as it is backed by the assets. You are not selling the air because the assets is behind those currency. And you don't need storage because you can use the network, the whole network to store the energy. That's the way we are approaching in Bosnia for small producers. If we would buy storage, it would be too expensive. But if we use the network, the whole network, then it's feasible.
This is the future. There are many, we are going to try things, certain areas will be successful, others there will be failure, but that's the way, sustainable energy, and it is linked with cultural diplomacy, because it brings many people together to work on these projects. And let's say we can promote these projects. I have heard yesterday of countries which are developing or underdeveloped, of communities which cannot be reached through the usual road system. We can deliver them these projects. And in this way, we can keep people there. But this is something long-term. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Joseph, California, United States. My question is, Cyprus, with its further fossil fuel extraction opportunities, looking at particularly in gas exploration and a potential gas pipeline between Cyprus and Egypt. And my question would be more along, what is the forecast for scaling back on this type of exploitation? And as well are the groups that are investing in a lot of the renewable energy, are they also then investing along with ExxonMobil for this gas exploration?
Yeah. This is a very complicated question. It would take a lot of time. I just say very few words. The problem is how the energy from Africa, Asia, and the Middle East reaches Europe. Europe needs to minimize dependencies on Russia. And Africa and the Middle East have a lot of energy there, which has to find a way of being transported to Europe. Now we found a way. What has been discovered in Cyprus is not much. They believe that there are huge deposits. And we have been discussing with Egypt to liquidify gas and take it to Europe. The important thing is, if we solve the difficulties, to have a pipeline from Cyprus to Crete and from Crete to Italy. This is a project where they're working. They found a lot of technical difficulties because of the structure of the bottom of the sea. And also, the prices of gas and oil are fluctuating. So a project which seems today viable, very viable, tomorrow is not viable. So there are a number of issues to be solved, but it has to take, and also there are a lot of political issues. There are countries, Lebanon wants some of what is in Israel, and vice versa. Turkey wants to take part of what they have in Cyprus. So what we try to do is to find a balance in these issues. But definitely, Europe has to find another source of having natural gas or oil and minimize independence on one source. This is what they're working on, but it's also a sensitive political issue. Thank you very, very much.